Mark had a habit of double-checking everything before bed. The stove, the porch light, the windows, the back door. It was a routine that helped him sleep. But tonight he was exhausted after a long shift, so he brushed his teeth, dropped his clothes on the chair, and slid under the blanket without doing his usual walk-through. When the room finally settled into darkness, he felt something strange. The house sounded different. A soft creak under the living room floor, almost like someone putting weight on the wooden boards. He blamed the old structure and tried to sleep, but another sound followed, slower this time, as if someone was deciding where to step next. His dog, Luna, lifted her head toward the bedroom door and stared. That was the moment his heart tightened. Luna only stared like that when she heard an unfamiliar person. Mark whispered her name, but she stayed frozen, ears forward, body tense. He reached for his phone on the nightstand and opened the camera app, using the screen light as a dim torch. He stepped out of bed slowly and walked toward the hall. Halfway there, Luna growled, not loud, but low and controlled, a warning. Mark stopped. At the end of the hallway, near the entrance, he could see the outline of the door. It was slightly open. A thin blade of cold air slid across the floor. The deadbolt hung loose. Before he could move, something shifted near the coat rack. A silhouette stood still, almost blending with the shadow. Mark's breath caught in his throat. He felt the reality hit him all at once. Someone had been inside long before he woke up. The person whispered something he could not understand, a quiet hush, almost rehearsed. Mark took a step back, his hand trembling. His phone slipped from his fingers and hit the floor. The screen lit the hallway for a split second, revealing a pale face turned toward him. The next story follows Ethan, a man who had recently moved into a smaller townhouse after his divorce. His routine was predictable. Lock up, make tea, watch 15 minutes of news, go to bed. But on this particular night, he left the back sliding door unlocked after letting in some cold air. He told himself he would close it later, but tiredness won. Around 2:43 a.m., he woke to the faint hum of the refrigerator and a noise that sounded like fingertips brushing against glass. At first he thought he was dreaming, but when he opened his eyes, he could see a soft blue glow from the kitchen. The light flickered, not steady like an appliance, but irregular. Someone was moving. Ethan quietly slipped out of bed, but before he reached the doorway, he felt something even more disturbing. The intruder was not searching randomly. The footsteps were confident and calm, walking exactly where you would walk if you knew every corner of the space. They moved from the kitchen to the hallway, right toward the coat hooks without hesitation. This was not a burglar checking drawers. Whoever was inside had studied the house or had been inside before. Ethan's heartbeat pounded against his ribs while he reached into the drawer for the small flashlight he kept for emergencies. When he switched it on, the beam caught the edge of the living room wall before going out. The battery had died. He took a slow step back toward his room. Then he heard something chilling. A whisper, not directed at him, but spoken as if someone was recalling a memory. The voice said, "Last time you forgot this corner too." Ethan froze. How could a stranger know what he forgot? The footsteps got closer. The floor creaked softly. Ethan backed up against his bedroom wall, listening to the handle turn. Someone was gently testing it, almost amused. Jake lived alone in a quiet suburban street where nothing ever happened. Safety was the neighborhood's charm. People jogged before sunrise. Kids rode bikes after school. Doors were occasionally left unlocked during the day. But one night, Jake came home late from work, carrying groceries in both hands, and forgot to lock the front door. He cooked, cleaned, and watched an episode of a crime show before heading to bed. Around 3 a.m., the wind picked up outside, making a soft whistle through the mail slot. But that was not the sound that woke him. It was a slow, dragging shuffle coming from the downstairs hallway. Jake kept still, waiting to hear it again. A moment later, The same shuffle brushed across the wooden floor. His first thought was that he had forgotten to close a window and the wind was blowing something across the floor. But then a new sound followed, a quiet inhale, long and controlled. Jake sat up. His room was dark, but the hallway light, which he always turned off, was now glowing faintly. He reached for his baseball bat under the bed and stepped into the hall. The light flickered twice. He moved slowly toward the stairs. Halfway down, he saw something that made him stop breathing. A suitcase sat near the door. It was not his. It looked old, with cracked leather and a faded tag that had no name. The door itself was wide open, moving slightly with the wind. Jake's heart thumped as he realized someone might still be inside. He heard movement from the dining room. A chair scraped the floor. Jake whispered, "Who's there?" But the only reply was silence. He reached the bottom of the stairs and took a step toward the dining room doorway. Then he heard a soft voice behind him, near the front door, close enough that he felt a breath. "Thanks for letting me in." Daniel lived in a converted loft apartment above an old post office. The place had charm, but also plenty of odd noises. Pipes knocked, wood expanded, and sometimes a draft slid through cracks in the brick. He was used to it. But tonight he climbed up the metal stairs, pushed open the door, and went straight to bed without locking it. Minutes later, he fell asleep listening to the gentle hum of passing cars. Around 1:25 a.m., he woke to footsteps. At first they matched his own rhythm in his dream, but when he opened his eyes, the footsteps kept going. Slow, careful, not the confident sound of someone who lived there. Daniel reached for the lamp, but stopped when the footsteps paused, as if the intruder sensed the movement. The room stayed dim, lit only by the glow from the streetlight outside. He listened. A faint breath, a shift in weight. Someone was inside. He grabbed his phone and dialed emergency services, but before the call connected, it dropped. No signal. He stepped off the bed, barefoot, and moved closer to the door. The footsteps began again. Whoever was inside walked in a strange pattern, like they were memorizing the layout. Daniel called out softly, trying to sound calm. No reply. Then something more unsettling happened. A whisper reached him through the doorway, repeating his name with a soft, drawn-out tone. The voice knew him. Daniel backed away, but the footsteps matched him, moving faster. As he reached the window, he heard the door latch click shut. Someone had locked him inside his own apartment. Eric liked routine. He locked the windows at 9, checked the back entrance at 9:15, and secured the front door right before bed. But on this night, he fell asleep on the sofa while scrolling through messages. The door stayed unlocked. When he finally woke up and headed to his bedroom, the house felt slightly colder than usual. He climbed into bed and drifted off quickly. An hour later, he woke again, this time to the soft rustling of clothes. He assumed it was his cat, Milo, but Milo was curled at his feet. The sound came again, this time from the closet. Eric sat up slowly. The closet door was open only a little, just enough for darkness to rest inside. Milo hissed. Eric felt his chest tighten. He took his phone and shined the light toward the closet. Something shifted, a shadow pulling back as if hiding deeper. This was not his imagination. Eric whispered a shaky question. "Who's there?" The closet went silent. He stepped closer and reached for the handle. Just as he touched it, a cold hand slid out through the narrow opening and pressed the door shut from the inside. Eric stumbled back. His phone fell, and the flashlight spun across the carpet. The shadow moved slowly toward the bottom of the door. And then the voice came, low and almost polite. "You forgot to lock up. I came in hours ago." Oliver rented a small guest room through an online listing while visiting another city. The host told him the place was safe and quiet. He arrived late, tired from travel, and placed his luggage near the bed. The door had 2 locks, a knob lock and chain. He only used the knob, promising himself he would attach the chain later, but sleep came too fast. Around midnight, he woke to the sound of someone breathing in the room. Slow, heavy, not his own. Oliver stayed still, terrified to open his eyes. When he finally looked, the room was dark except for a faint outline near the dresser. A person was standing there. He blinked, thinking he was imagining it, but the shape didn't disappear. It took one step forward. Oliver grabbed his phone, but his hand shook so badly he dropped it. The figure spoke softly, calm yet unsettling. "You should have used the chain." Oliver scrambled toward the door, but the figure moved faster. The knob rattled, trapping him inside. Sam lived in a busy city and often came home late. His apartment was on the 4th floor, usually safe from unexpected visitors. One night, he came home carrying takeout, juggling keys, phone, and bag. While trying to balance everything, he pushed the door open and forgot to lock it behind him. After eating, he fell asleep on the couch. Hours later, at 3:11 a.m., he heard someone walking through his kitchen. The footsteps were soft but deliberate. Sam sat up, heartbeat racing. He reached for the nearest object, a metal water bottle, and crept toward the hallway. The kitchen light was on. A man stood with his back turned, looking through Sam's drawers quietly, almost like he lived there. When a man finally turned, Sam saw no panic in his face. Instead, he smiled. "You really should be more careful. I almost knocked before coming in." Sam backed away, but the man started walking toward him, calm and steady. Sam ran for the door, but the man reached it first and closed it gently with his hand. "I'm not done here," he said. Sam realized the danger was not just because he left the door unlocked. The danger was that this man planned to stay.